jurisdiction because the building is not yet on the road.
Our building, like many of the buildings in the neighborhood, is old, and it does not provide wheelchair access. We are not ADA compliant. If at some point in the future we were compelled to provide disability access by a shareholder, shareholders, what sort of impact would a historic designation have on the design and construction of an ADA compliant scenario?
ADA access is something that keeps coming to the commission all the time because there's a lot of old buildings that are not ADA compliant, and that's something that staff reviews all the time. That's something that keeps on coming all the time. We approve ADA lifts as well as ADA ramps, and the only time we can do it is if it's on the exterior. We might have to take it to a public hearing. Actually, we do have to take it to a public hearing when it's on the exterior, but when there's any kind of work in the interior, that doesn't require any work.
I'm on the board of on 104th Street, and I have a specific question. It's also about windows and doors or outside features of the building. Our building knows some not the original features, but we've been restoring the building slowly. And what would be the requirements for, we have to meet the requirements of the original windows or only the requirements of the replaced windows and doors?
It depends on the situation of the particular building. For a large building and for many buildings of the apartment typology in this proposed area, we might recommend that you create a master plan for the windows. A plan where you say, this is what we plan to do for the replacement windows. We're not replacing them all at the same time. The commission can approve the master plan, and then as each occupant or tenant or unit in the building needs new windows, then you can get a very quick staff level permit when the changes conform to the already established master plan. So that's a way to streamline things. In terms of the actual approach of what the window needs to look like, the window rules that are on our website could give you some guidance about what would be acceptable at the staff level, and then anything that you wanted to do that didn't conform to the rules, you would always have the opportunity to present that to the commissioners. So I'm going to let Tenzing talk more specifically about what the window rules are for restoration.
That would be great.
With regards to window rules, it's very specific for the front facade. It's principal facades. The windows, proposed windows, have to match the historic in terms of configuration, operation, detail, material, and finish. With regards to secondary facades, it has to match in terms of finish and configuration. And with regards to non-visible rear facades, any kind of windows, as long as they're not replacing any special windows, which are any kind of stained glass windows or casement windows, steel casements. Those are the ones that cannot be replaced at staff level. So that's very specific for the window rules. With regards to, again, adding on with the notice of review for any calendar buildings, how the commission actually also works is when we issue a notice of review, we are also, before we issue a positive notice of review, we look and work with the homeowners or building owners to make sure that the specifications that have been provided are actually the correct specifications before we issue that letter that goes out to DOB.
How long would it take for the calendering process to the ultimate end?
It varies. It varies from district to district, from house to house, literally. It could be extensive because there is an enormous amount of work that's required here. It has to be done carefully and thoroughly and in consultation and transparently with the people in this room and everyone else.
What's the shortest one it's been? What's the longest one it's been? What's the average?
My hands with that one, I don't know.
We have designated districts. We have designated districts as small as 10 buildings. Those districts are very straightforward in the sense that we can assign 1 or 2 staff people. As part of the process, we draft a detailed description of the facade of the building. That's later used for regulatory purposes. So that's not something that any property owner here or that we want to take shortcuts on. So for a small district, we did something that we can do relatively quickly. Just so you know, the commission has received requests for about 50 historic districts. We're actively pursuing about a dozen right now, but that we're looking at. So it's a question of competing resources as well. So to give you some sort of time frame, we know it will be designated this year. It could be, it won't be voted on this year. It could potentially be voted on within the next 1 to 2 years.
So you're
No, I mean, it could be calendared as early as this fall, but the vote on the designation that makes a historic district a landmark historic district would not happen this year. It would happen next year at the earliest and potentially the following year.
Who votes?
The commissioners vote. There are 11 commissioners who meet almost every Tuesday in public at public meetings and hearings. Those meetings are advertised. We communicate to all of the property owners well in advance of any sort of action on your neighborhood. We send you notices of the public meetings where we propose to calendar the public hearings and the votes, and we also do outreach to share those detailed building descriptions with each of you so you can let us know if you have any suggested changes or edits, because we want them to be completely accurate before we bring this to a vote for the 11 commissioners.
So you're looking at, if I understand correctly, 12 to 24 months before the commission votes, and then it goes to the city council for their...
If the commission votes to designate a historic district, it's subsequently reviewed by the city planning commission. The city planning commission then issues a report to the city council, and the city council can vote within 120 days of the commission agency. We are legally required to give you notice of the public hearing, but we go much above and beyond that. So we sent a letter to every property owner in the study area. We're required to use Department of Finance information. So it's sometimes the case that the Department of Finance information is out of date, or, for example, that there are condo owners in a particular building and the notice was sent to the board, or a co-op owner and the notice was sent to their board. So we rely on our supporting elected officials like the council member's office. Kate's group, Landmark West, is also very helpful in terms of circulating information. We put information on our website and we send out letters, but we are not able to flyer the neighborhood because we're not charity group.
My name is Christiana Pena, and I had a chance actually to greet a lot of you as you arrived. I am with Landmark West, along with Kate Wood, who introduced herself earlier. I hope you're all finding the copies of our Landmark Map newsletter that we handed out earlier helpful, as they outline the existing historic districts and individual landmarks on the Upper West Side, all 2,700 plus that exist already. If you didn't receive one, please let us know. We'll be happy to make sure you do get your hands on one of those. And I think that the reason we want to make sure to point out the map tonight is that it gives us an example of the 2,700 plus examples of historic architectural resources that really go to the heart of what makes the Upper West Side so livable and enjoyable, and why we all want to be here in the first place. But beyond Landmark West, we also want to point out that there are thousands of property owners and homeowners on the West Side who can attest to the landmark regulatory process of the Landmarks Commission. And Landmark West would be more than happy to put folks here tonight in touch with those individuals to hear from them directly what it means to reside and own property within a landmark historic district. So as the meeting comes to a close, just again want to reiterate that Landmark West is here as a resource for you. And to the Commission, we look forward to welcoming these 790 some buildings to the West Side Landmark family.
One, addressing all these legitimate process and implementation questions. The question is, for those of us who are in favor and want to actively support this process, what can we do to support it?
Being here tonight to say what you just said. This is Scott. And as Kate Gilney said about our process as we go forward, the calendaring public hearing is to weigh in with that support, to speak to us and your councilwoman, let us know by emails or other forms of support, work with the community groups or support, and be heard in that effort, and that's helpful to the entire process. And I thank you for asking about that. Well, first of all, every owner that's here tonight, or yourself and others who are, the law does not require owner approval of a historic designation. It's not required. I strive to find owner partnership, owner participation, owner cooperation, and owner approval to a historic designation. And many times it's forthcoming. I mean, overwhelmingly, I wouldn't want to. It is after dialogues like this, and there's a better understanding perhaps of what landmark and historic preservation is and what it is not, and how the process works and changes that can be made and what we don't regulate. Some of those misunderstandings or understandings are clarified and we get support. But there are instances in which I can't give you a number on it where owner opposition remains, and in cases where the importance of preservation is paramount, we have to go forward. But it's a situation that I try to avoid wherever possible.
If you bring the application to the commission for a staff level review while the building is calendared, and what you're proposing is, in staff's opinion, inappropriate for the historic district, then the staff will not write the notice of review letter. You won't be able to bring that letter to DOB to say, okay, now will you release me from this holding pattern and go ahead and issue a permit. Instead, you will have to wait a full 40 days. After the completion of the 40 days, it's simply a DOB matter, and there is no more LPC jurisdiction, so you would be able to proceed with DOB. Yes, there are, I'll explain, the fee structure is that for a designated property, not a calendar property, any work that has to go to DOB as well as LPC is charged a small LPC fee. For all work that doesn't need to go to DOB, so for example, changing windows, changing doors, maintenance work, where you do need to get an LPC permit, but you don't go to DOB, there is no fee for that work. And that's because DOB collects the fees on behalf of LPC. So if you are also getting a DOB permit, there will be an LPC fee. What the fee structure is there is a $50 fee for work up to $25,000. And then after that, for every $1,000 of work, it's an additional $4. So it's a minimal fee structure, much smaller than the DOB fees, and it only takes effect for those permits that also require a DOB permit.
Applicants and technical staff as well that gives you advice on design as well as pointing out to you which kind of lifts might be the best option for you, as well as what ramps and what architects out there might be the best ones that might be able to help you with your project. As a government agency, we're not allowed to recommend one architect or one elevator or lift company. So it's a resource as well, because staff will tell you that these are 5 or 6 architects that presented at the commission certain kind of ADA ramps, and you might want to look at their proposals, as well as these were certain kind of lifts that were approved at the public hearing, and these were the pros and these were the cons of it. So each of the lifts do have their pros, because sometimes you have the scissor kind of lifts that come up and then they have waterproofing problems, and sometimes you have the lifts that have that look very visually bulky, and so like the staff is a very good resource for you to help you through that process.
So the question is, what if there's a storm, there's